So when I read through comments calling me controlling or narcissistic, even though I'm not quite sure how that one fits in, but controlling, Asian tiger mom, that kind of thing, I think what I find so interesting is that people do not seem to understand that a parent can teach their child. They can parent their child by having conversations with them, to talk with them about issues over a long period of time in an effort to guide and parent their child. Growing up, one of the things that my daughter used to tell me was that she could get very annoyed with me, but that she was never really angry or frustrated because I so over communicated everything that I possibly could to try to make sure that they understood why I said the things I said, why I made the decisions that I do. I did my absolute best to talk. Whether it was teaching them about personal hygiene, diet, cleanliness, minimalism and not having too many possessions, dating, friendships, education, schooling, understanding why I limited their choice of college majors, how to handle money, finances, all of that stuff. In my opinion, talking with your children is the absolute best, and it is the first line when it comes to discipline. And in my definition of talking with your children, that means conversations. That's many, many conversations held over all the years of while they're growing up, while they are small children until they leave your house. Not just one time or a couple conversations where you're just barking out orders or you're just telling them what to do, but conversations where they also have the freedom to talk and they can share, and also where you are very cognizant and aware of their age and where they are in their development and what you can expect from them. Like, you have to be aware of what they can handle at their age, what kind of response to expect, and how and when to bring up the topic again. And so let's look at, for example, the subject of diet. I've shared before how I decided one of the hills that I was going to die on was that we were going to be a no sugary drinks household. I mean, my parents did not have that rule, but that's how I grew up. Okay, I just did not consume any sugar drinks. And I just decided that sugary drinks were just something I was not going to compromise on. And before everybody freaks out about teaching them moderation is better and you can teach them just to have a little bit, it's just not that easy for me or my kids, okay? It's just not that easy. We had a lot of sugar stuff as it was, cookies, cakes, all that stuff. And I've even shared before how I have a serious sugar addiction. In fact, January of 2026, I finally gave it up, and it has been so hard. And giving my kids as much sugar as I already did, that's definitely a regret. But one of the things I kind of figured was I could still minimize it by not allowing sugary drinks. And there are studies that show that sugar drinks versus a sugary dessert with fat and all of that, it affects your body differently. You can go look it up. And so anyway, this was one of the things that I figured I would do, because you have to remember, I did not have the internet back then the way it is now. A lot of stuff I was just figuring it out on my own or through reading like actual magazines and books. And so I just figured, like, let's just not make things so hard for us, okay? So no sodas, no juices, I don't drink coffee and tea, etc. So the way, I didn't just like yell this out. One of the ways I explained it to my children was that we were consuming a lot of sugar as it was, but one way that we could reduce it was by not adding to the load by drinking sugar drinks with our meals and throughout our days. That it could affect your insulin levels, that it could cause diabetes, that it would cause cavities and numerous other mouth problems, and that the health of your mouth, your oral health, is extremely important. It's a huge factor in your overall physical health and well-being. I mean, has anybody ever had a toothache and still managed to have a good day? Like, these are the kind of things I would share with my kids. And I would also tell them that I have known many people who've gone on medical mission trips. And one of the things that they would always talk to me about is that the most in-demand medical professional are dentists. Like this one woman, she once told me that like a doctor can only do so much in a rural village. Like if you meet somebody and they need some kind of medical care, like what can they do while they're there? Whereas a dentist, they can pull people's teeth and give them immediate relief. And she said that at the last trip that she was on on a medical mission trip, the dentist had a line that just circled the building several times. And so I would share these kind of things with my kids. I would talk to them about it. And I told them by not getting addicted to sugary drinks, that was just a very easy way to just make things easier on yourself, to help yourself maintain weight as you got older. And that if you just didn't get started down that path, then it's not going to be a battle and a fight when you're an adult. And so when it came, another conversation I used to have with them is that when it came to their overall health, I would tell them that it's like as if in their entire lifetime, they only got really one nice car, but they didn't have control of it until they were 18. And so until then, it was my responsibility to do what I could to take care of it so that by the time they got control of it as an adult, it would be in the best condition possible at that point. And that it would be wrong for me to allow things that would hurt their bodies, which means it could lead to a struggle when they, or pain that they would have as an adult. Because for me as a parent, honestly, I do take it as my personal responsibility to do what I can to take care of my children's health so that I can set them off into adulthood with every advantage I could give them. I know there are a lot of things that I can't, but these are the kind of conversations that I would have with my kids. And I just want you guys to know that I'm not even saying that I got it even close to being correct. And when I think about something like how much Teflon we ate as a family, like all that nonstick, oh my gosh, okay. And I am not saying that my kids were happy all the time about the things I decided on, but they understood where I stood on it as a parent. And they understood that one day they could make different decisions for themselves, but that they also understood that while I was responsible for their well-being, I was just doing the best I could with the information I had, and that in the end, I was responsible for them. So these are the kinds of conversations that I'm talking about when it comes to raising your children. I did not just sit there throwing out these authoritative edicts and expect everyone to fall in line. I mean, I think that has something to do with social media. Like people think like what they see, that's all that they got. But there are a few notes here, because whatever I taught my kids or any of the kids ever in my care, I always did my absolute best to try to live it out myself. Okay? And also these types of things that I wanted to teach and to pass on to my kids, especially when it comes to the more serious topics such as like dating, I had to do the work first to make sure that I was not making decisions or teaching them out of fear and just lashing out and making these broad stroke decisions and demands. And because that's what happens when parents do things from an unhealed place. Things can go sideways. And then also, finally, I also accepted that in the end, my children are independent individuals. And once they become adults, they can make their own choices. And I had to be okay with that. And that I was not going to be personally offended or upset. So that's just my 2 cents when it comes to disciplining kids. I definitely think that talking, a lot of talking and a lot of sharing, that is the first line, and that is the first type of disciplinary style that every parent should try. But you're also going to have to start this when they're young.